Google's new AI-powered tools hope to optimize scientific research workflows. Minnesota passed a prediction markets ban, and Kickstarter rolled back its mature content policy after an outcry. It's Wednesday, May 20th, and here's a quick look at some of the news happening in and around tech this morning from Engadget. Well, as society helplessly watches tech giants infuse AI into everything, Google has at least introduced some new AI-powered tools that could help with the arduous work associated with scientific discovery. During Google I/O 2026, the tech giant announced Gemini for Science, a collection of experimental tools that can help researchers generate hypotheses, conduct testing, and understand scientific literature. Gemini for Science includes three primary features: hypothesis generation, computational discovery, and literature insights. As the name suggests, hypothesis generation will help the first few steps of the scientific method by digging through millions of scientific papers to come up with theories or challenges. That's all to say that the tool will help a researcher create a hypothesis, but Google added that the claims generated by this tool are deeply verified and supported by clickable citations for absolute rigor. Once a hypothesis is created, researchers can move on to the computational discovery tool to put the theory to the test. Google describes this tool as an agentic search engine that can generate thousands of tests and experiments much faster than when done manually. And lastly, Gemini for Science will have literature insights, an AI-powered chat that looks through scientific literature for researchers and generates more digestible versions through reports, infographics, or even audio and video overviews. As part of Gemini for Science, Google is also launching its Science Skills tool, which can scour insights from more than 30 major life science databases and tools so researchers can perform complex and often manual workflows in minutes rather than hours. Google said it's gradually opening up access to these experimental Gemini for Science tools. Anyone interested in these AI features can fill out a form on the Google Labs website, but the company will be also offering them to enterprise organizations with Google Cloud. Minnesota is the latest state to try and curtail the activities of prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket. Governor Tim Walz signed a bill that included a number of public safety provisions, including a ban on those markets operating within the state. The provisions are slated to take effect on August 1st, but they are already facing some challenges. This appears to be the first attempt by a state to regulate prediction markets via legislation rather than lawsuits. But the lawsuits have not gotten off to a good start. 3 of the states that have embarked on legal cases against these businesses were sued by the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which claims that only it has the power to oversee prediction markets. The CFTC filed an amicus brief last week to intervene in an additional lawsuit in Ohio. The federal regulator has also hopped onto the Minnesota law, but rather than making the same case, its argument is that the law would prevent weather-related predictions made by farmers to hedge against crop losses. NPR reported that an updated version of the law with an exception for that agricultural application is likely to be approved. Kickstarter has retracted its new set of rules around mature content that it released last week, following an outcry from creators whose campaigns are affected by the change. While the platform still allowed romance and spicy literature, including comics, under that policy, it enforced stricter rules around pornographic and sexually explicit content. Now, Kickstarter has admitted that the response it got from its community let it know loud and clear that the crowdfunding platform got it wrong, so it's going back to its previous rules. It explained in its announcement that it updated its policy because of Stripe, its payment processor that operates under its own set of rules. Kickstarter explained that over the past few months, it has seen a growing number of campaigns that it had already approved get suspended by Stripe mid-funding due to their nature. The platform would advocate for affected creators whenever that happened, and it was able to get Stripe to unfreeze their funds and to continue accepting money on their behalf so they could finish their campaigns. But Kickstarter was not always successful in getting Stripe's decision reversed. It thought that the best path forward was to close the gap between its rules and Stripe's so that creators would only have one set of rules to deal with. Under its previous rules, which have now been reinstated, pornography and illegal content are still prohibited, but the rules are less restrictive, as they are more bare bones and not as specific. Kickstarter said that Stripe can still suspend campaigns due to their nature, but it promised to advocate for creators and to help them make adjustments to make their projects acceptable to Stripe. The platform called it an imperfect temporary solution, so it could still implement changes surrounding mature content in the future. Thanks for listening. There's more tech news at Engadget.com. This episode featured journalism from Jackson Chen, Anna Washenko, and Mariella Moon. Enjoy your day, and I'll be back tomorrow with more tech news from Engadget.